Quasar. So a few weeks ago I made a video about Jake Broe, and mostly I discovered the hypocrisy in his videos and how much he just seems to like to lie. But fortunately a new video has dropped, his March Q&A, and I thought it'd be interesting if we just sat down and just broke it down together. So if you haven't already, just go grab some popcorn. You're definitely going to enjoy this one.
Next question. Do you think that America will have a free and fair election in 2028? Or do you think that Trump or one of his political friends will stay in place?
So before he answers this question, let's all just indulge in a member berry. So we all remember 2024 when Joe Biden nominated Kamala Harris to be the nominee. So no one in the DNC got to vote for her. He just dropped out and nominated her. Yeah, okay, that was really smart. What was the democracy in that, Jake Broe?
A lot of people are concerned. Will the 2026 or the 2028 elections in the United States be rigged? And at the moment, this isn't possible because we have federalism, meaning that the states, and oftentimes the individual cities or counties, are in charge of running their own elections. So the election process, the paper ballots, the machines, the times, everything in every location is different because it's set on the local level. So there is no way to rig a federal election here in the United States. You could rig an individual state. You could rig, the election maybe in North Carolina or Ohio or Arizona. But you can't do it in all 50 states. Elon Musk is working on this. Elon Musk is complaining about America's federal system because he wants to nationalize and control everything.
Yeah, this is just a bold-faced lie, and I'm gonna give you a hypothetical reason why. So he just said right there that you can't rig an election, or at least not in all 50 states, maybe one of them. That's still rigging an election, doofus. Okay, check this out. So you guys remember that whole immigration issue, right? That was kind of like a big part of the last election. Okay, let's say like 4 million illegal immigrants is going to California, and during the election season, 4 million of them decide to go vote. Who do you think they're gonna vote for? The person that says they're gonna send them back, or the person that got them the plane ticket to get there to begin with? Now, don't you think that's gonna rig it? Even if it's one state like California, that's a lot of electoral college votes. You could be at 230 and just clear to win just from one state being rigged.
You just need the fraud to take place in crucial swing states. You just need a couple of states to rig the entire election, and that's why they are so focused on Arizona and on Pennsylvania and places that can be purplish like Virginia. And lo and behold, it has now been confirmed that at least 2,500 suspected fraudulent voter registration forms have been dropped off already in Pennsylvania at the Lancaster County Board of Elections. The Lancaster County Board of Election official has come out and she has declared that. That is District Attorney Heather Adams. Here is what she had to say in a press briefing.
On Tuesday afternoon, I was contacted by Krista Miller, who is our Chief Clerk of Elections, regarding potentially fraudulent voter registration applications that had recently been received by her office. At that time, she informed me that the Elections Office received approximately 2,500 applications at or near the deadline for registering to vote. While preparing to process these applications, staff noticed that numerous applications appeared to have the same handwriting, were filled out on the same day with unknown signatures, and some were previously registered voters, and the signatures on file did not match the signatures on the application. So before I begin to summarize our preliminary findings, I must remind everyone that this is an ongoing investigation, and for that reason, I will be limited in the details that I can provide.
But I still have confidence we're going to have free and fair elections in 2026. And if those go well, we're going to fight for 2028. So I don't think J.D. Vance is going to be the nominee or ever become president by getting elected.
Kind of like how Kamala Harris wasn't voted in by the Democratic National Convention to be the nominee, nor did she win the election by getting elected.
Because this guy is a total weirdo. Nobody likes him. Donald Trump doesn't even like him. He has the lowest approval rating of any incoming vice president in history. We don't need to talk about J.D. Vance. He's honestly irrelevant. He's just a proxy for Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. And given that Elon Musk lives at the White House now, J.D. Vance is redundant.
So hold on. He's saying that JD Vance is a weirdo, but he's a liberal. And last time I checked, liberals actually support the LGBTQ movement. So which one is it? Now, I like to stand firm on my beliefs, and if he's gonna say that JD Vance was a weirdo, would he say the same thing about President Zelensky after I show you these videos right here?
Una misión y... Un, dos, let's go!
This is just a friendly reminder that this is the actual current sitting president of Ukraine, but this guy Jake Broe, who actively covers Ukraine, wants to boldly say that JD Vance is the weirdo. Alright, but you need a history lesson. And when it comes to JD Vance's approval rating, it is actually looking lower than most, but you gotta remember, this guy just started his job not even like, 90 days ago? And if we're looking at approval ratings, what was Kamala Harris's approval rating when she left office? Around like -17 something? Okay, now go look at President Trump's old vice president, Mike Pence. He left the office with around -5. Dude, what the fuck did Mike Pence do that Kamala Harris couldn't do that she left with a -12 compared to him?
So this is happening. Steve Bannon has already endorsed Donald Trump to run again for a third term in 2028. This is against the Constitution. The Constitution's not going to be amended to allow this to happen, but...
Well, you know what they say, a broken clock is right twice a day. I also don't agree with what Steve Bannon is trying to do when it comes to the whole third term thing, but you know, we'll see what happens because he kind of has to pass the House and Congress if I'm not wrong. But even past that, it's like, come on now, third term, just let someone else take the reins. He's laid down the path for success when it comes to the GOP. People just have to follow that and stick to the whole common sense route.
MAGA is going to try and do it. So what's the good news? And the good news is I don't think Donald Trump is going to be alive in 4 years. I am not advocating anyone do anything to unalive him, but he is 78, obese, and he has the most stressful job in the world. Donald Trump has done some things correctly to extend his life. Famously, Donald Trump doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, and being a billionaire, he's probably had pretty good health care his entire life. But he's still overweight, approaching 80, and has a terribly stressful job. So I'm pretty confident over the next 4 years he's going to have a stroke or a heart attack or serious health complications that will decommission him.
This kind of reminds me of when people were saying LeBron James wasn't going to be doing this to the league for another few years because he hit 30. Now he's about to hit 40. But yeah, this is kind of funny because by his logic, Trump is 78. So in 4 more years, he's going to be around 82. How old is Joe Biden? 82. So if that's true that Trump doesn't have long for this earth, neither does Joe Biden. But if you ask Jake Broe, I bet you 120% that if Joe Biden didn't drop out of the race, he would have still voted for him. But I guess it wasn't a stressful job then, or he doesn't have any health complications. Like, what is up with the hypocrisy?
And hopefully, once Trump himself is gone, there won't be a clear successor to MAGA that the base can rally around. People don't really like Eric or Don Jr. And it's not going to be Vivek Ramaswamy. Elon Musk was foreign born. He can never be the nominee. So I'm hoping. We're wearing him down now. Here in America, people who care are trying their best, but we've been battling Donald Trump for over 10 years. I think for people around the world who haven't been paying attention to U.S. politics, you don't understand what it's felt like here in America, putting up with Trump and his incessant lying.
Personally, I believe that JD Vance is going to be the winner of the 2028 presidential election. That is if he runs, because overall the favorability of the GOP is kind of high right now, and it doesn't seem to be going down anytime soon.
Terrible, 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 to quote the great Charles Barkley. View Democratic Party favorably. CNN SRS, look at this, 29%. NBC News, you want to go lower than that? How about 27%? Both are record lows. The lowest going back to 1992 in CNN polling. The lowest going back on record to 1990 in NBC News polling. The majority of Americans hold an unfavorable or negative view of the Democratic Party at this point. All I can say is I'm a big fan of the oldies, so I'm going to quote Chubby Checker. How low can you go?
Besides that, you probably have Marco Rubio, who could be a close runner-up for that position. But beyond all of that, you have this guy saying that he's been dealing, or America has been dealing with Donald Trump for the past 10 years, when in reality, they were just in power for the last 4 years, and Donald Trump took power in 2017. So really, when you all calculate it up, he's been in power for the last 6 out of 10 years. So that's around even, but yeah, it's all been Trump's fault. This is what people would call a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome.
He has been lying continuously for over 10 years and getting away with it because his base lives in an alternate reality where there is no truth.
The reality where there is no truth, kind of like how when people were bringing up the fact that Joe Biden may not be fit to run the actual office, and the whole DNC was like, no, he's fine. He's as chip as a rock. I don't know what you guys mean. There's no signs of dementia. He didn't just fall off that bike. He didn't just fall down Air Force One. Come on, guys. He knows what sentence to say. There's no pamphlet in his hand telling him what to do when he walks into a meeting. Bro, these guys are freaking losing it.
I'm not introducing me, Mark is. So thank you all. God bless you all. Let's go lick the world. Let's get it done. But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed. Have a good time. Thank you for your service from the bottom of my heart. Really. Happy Thanksgiving. See you all. Oh, who am I giving this to?
We are a community that relies on family, on ohana.
Middle class was built by the middle class, and the unions built the middle class. Two of the great artists of our time representing the groundbreaking legacy of hip-hop in America, LL Cool J. You could say even this harder than getting a ticket to the Renaissance tour or Britney's tour. She's down in, it's kind of warm in Brazil right now. And by the way, with other movies she's earned a Golden Globe and a Primetime Emmy. That's me.
While we're on the topic of living in a universe with no truths, let's just bring up the fact that Kamala Harris just ran a campaign bragging about how she's going to be the first black woman president, when in all reality, she's not even black, bro. She's Irish Indian. Her ancestors have roots to slave owners in Ireland. Her family is of high freaking caste in India, which is like a social ladder thing.
So you have to imagine during this period in Kamala's life, right? Her family was at the top, as far as we can go back, they were at the tippity top of the agricultural revolution, followed by the first industrial revolution. Like, they owned slaves, right? So they were extraordinarily wealthy, like I said, and you're not just going to let that wealth go. You're not going to be like, okay, well, now they abolished slavery, so I'm good with that. So we know what followed the first industrial revolution was the second industrial revolution. So if you were a slave owner and you are looking to make sure that you maintain your wealth and your influence, what is the next industry that you're going to get into during this timeline? The answer to that is oil. So I'm now going to show you a chart because we worked all this out. This was tremendously helpful, and we were able to make sense of everything for the first time, because it's difficult with Ancestry.com. You don't know what's real and what's not real. But what we were able to determine after speaking with her is she said, my family they were Sephardic Jews. And so this is the chart of Kamala's side that she's speaking about. Again, I'm giving you a visual chart because it just helps because there's so many names. But right at the top there, you have Henry, and then you have Joseph. This is where she says Joseph and Ralph, these were Ralph is her line, Joseph is Kamala's line. And you see this, and you can see you've got a Joseph Harris, an Albert Harris, a Joseph Alexander Harris, who allegedly married Miss Chrissy Brown, and then you have Oscar, and then you have Donald, and then at the bottom there we have Kamala. So this is just what we are showing is that paternal line straight from Henry Harris. And what's remarkable is I sort of went, okay, so you're telling me that your family were Sephardic Jews. Let me look more into this Jewish angle. It would be very, again, strange if she's hiding this, but let me go ask Kamala's relative, and I've been in contact with, whether or not he can confirm to me that their family is Jewish. Like, he should be able to tell me about his grandfather. He should be able to tell me about, Oscar Harris. These people were all alive recently. We don't need to go that far back. Is Kamala's family Jewish? So first and foremost, I want to say the woman in Canada says they do not agree with Kamala's politics at all. That is why she reached out. She said it is an absolute fact that Donald is lying in his piece in Jamaican Global Online when he says heritage is unknown to him, that is an absolute lie, and that their family believes that they are intentionally blackwashing the Jewish parts of their identity. So where Kamala is Jewish, they are inserting this sort of nebulous black ancestry that doesn't actually exist. And like I said, she keeps records. She has kept them all. And she's saying they are Sephardic Jews. So when I followed up with Donald's direct relatives who I have been communicating with, they confirmed that what she says is true, and it's nothing that they're ashamed of. They don't know why Donald is not telling the truth about the fact that Oscar Harris was a Syrian Jew. Unbelievably, a Syrian Jew. Oscar's father, Joseph Alexander Harris, was a Syrian Jew. So this family is Jewish, okay?
Indian origin, U.S. Senator Kamala Harris, scripting history, becoming the first vice presidential candidate of Indian origin. Kamala formally accepted her nomination last night on day 3 of Democratic Convention and crucially harked to her Tamil roots. Listen in, and we'll be back at 10 with another special.
Family is our beautiful children, Cole and Ella, who call me Mamala. Family is my sister. Family is my best friend, my nieces, and my godchildren. Family is my uncles, my aunts, and my chitties. Family is Mrs. Shelton, my second mother who lived 2 doors down and helped raise me. Family.
And if you think I'm being ridiculous, please go find proof of Kamala Harris being black. And I don't mean that one maid that was in her book, fake book by the way, where she was claiming that was her grandma. I mean like actual physical DNA evidence that proves she is African American.
Next question is from Chris. Hi, Jake. It seems to me that all I hear are crickets when it comes to any blowback against the Trump regime. Where are the adults in the room? I don't understand why the past presidents and pillars of American society all seem to have retreated into their shells. Any thoughts? Concerning past presidents, that's not something you do. I know in other countries, for example, with prime ministers, former prime ministers might speak out. But for over 200 years of American tradition, past presidents don't criticize current presidents, and I don't think Obama, Clinton, or Bush want to violate that tradition. Where is the pushback coming from the people? And we're finally getting some serious protests. I know when you see these protests, for example, in Georgia, or Belgrade, or Romania, or Slovakia, or Hungary, Europeans, you know how to protest. But a lot of Americans have forgotten. There weren't a lot of protests over the last 4 years when Biden was president, so we're slowly getting back into it. People are organizing on the local levels. And at the moment, there are lots of protests happening against Trump and what he's doing. And they're being held at Tesla dealerships. So this is a protest happening in Cherry Hill, New Jersey over the weekend, and I'll just share this with you.
Oh my God.
If you're American, I encourage you to, on the local level, figure out who's organizing protests in your area. I think there's a massive nationwide protest happening in April. It's coming up. As soon as someone gives me the details, I can promote it on this channel.
Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say that everyone shown in this video is a paid protester, but I wouldn't be doing my due diligence as a content creator if I didn't show you this clip to help you draw your own opinion on whether or not these protests are organic or not.
And in other states where people have been setting Tesla superchargers on fire and also protesting inside of these Tesla dealership locations. Here's what Elon Musk put up early this morning. An investigation has found 5 ActBlue funded groups responsible for Tesla's protest, Troublemakers Disruption Project, Rise and Resist, Invisible Project, and Democratic Socialists of America. ActBlue funders, including George Soros, Reid Hoffman, Herbert Sandler, Patricia Bondman, and Lee Hunt Hendricks. ActBlue is currently under investigation for allowing foreign and illegal donations and criminal violation of campaign finance regulations. This week, 7 ActBlue senior officials resigned, including the Associate General Counsel. If you know anything about this, please post in replies. Thanks, Elon. Here's Congressman Steele out of Wisconsin. He heads up the actual committee that is investigating ActBlue. Here's what he had to say yesterday.
Yeah, you're the chairman of the Committee on House Administration. You've been leading an investigation into ActBlue, which is the Democrats' kind of dark money platform, and it's a lot of shady things happening with that. The New York Times out with a new piece saying that ActBlue has plunged into turmoil. At least 7 senior officials resigning late last month. Departures come as the group is under investigation by yourself and other congressional Republicans. What is happening at ActBlue as you guys begin to look into this fundraising platform?
When I began my investigation in ActBlue, I could not believe what I was finding, an absolute lack of financial controls that should be in place at almost any place that is operating with your money. As we all know, if you go online and try to buy something, you have to enter that 3-digit code on the back of your credit card, a CVV number. ActBlue wasn't even requiring that. They weren't automatically rejecting donations that were made from prepaid cards from risky foreign countries. And so we began this investigation to figure out what exactly is going on in ActBlue. We've issued subpoenas, we've asked questions of ActBlue, and we just now have the New York Times reporting that senior leaders are jumping off the ship of ActBlue. Yeah. Our investigation is going to continue, and now we have friends that we can work with in the United States Department of Treasury instead of being stiff-armed as we were during the Biden administration.
And we can get more people to turn out. This needs to start consistently happening on a large scale. And there are some leaders in the Democratic Party who are taking to the road, doing what they think they can to push back against Trump. Congresswoman AOC and Bernie Sanders have been going to joint rallies together. This was a crowd of 34,000 people in Denver, Colorado. They're currently on a national tour.
How would you grade the Democratic Party's response?
Well, I would take us back even 2 years before that, before Trump was elected, and saying that it saddens me that when the Democrats had control of the Senate, they did virtually nothing for working people. And I have to say that I'm a member of the Democratic caucus as an independent, so I'm not going to lie to you and tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
And since then, do I think the Democrats have been effective in rallying the American people in stopping Trump's movement toward oligarchy and authoritarianism? No, I don't.
Is there anything that you think Trump has done right?
Yeah, I mean, I think cracking down on fentanyl, making sure our borders are stronger. Look, nobody thinks that illegal immigration is appropriate. And I happen to think we need comprehensive immigration reform. But I don't think that it's appropriate for people to be coming across the border illegally.
The VP candidate Mike Waltz is also on a national tour, once again, giving speeches and trying to drum up opposition to Trump. But specifically your question, where are the adults in the room in the Republican Party? And they're all gone. Over the last 10 years, Donald Trump has been purging the Republican Party of anyone capable of independent thought or action. So Senator Mitt Romney, he was the nominee in 2012. He's retired. Trump got rid of him. Senator Bob Corker, Trump got rid of him. Congresswoman Liz Cheney, this is the daughter of the former vice president. Trump got rid of her. Adam Kinzinger, even Paul Ryan, who voluntarily retired, it's because he hated Trump and Trump hated him. Same thing with Reince Priebus, the former RNC chairman. He famously became Trump's chief of staff, and Trump fired him within a year. Anyone who engages in independent or critical thinking, Donald Trump eliminates those people.
I'd like to know what type of critical thinking and independent thoughts these people had that got them fired. Really, what comes to mind when I hear all these names is that these people didn't get along with the sitting president, and he did what was right for him and got rid of them because they couldn't do their job right.
So the remaining adults, or the people who should be adults, Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, and Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, they know if they speak out or if they do anything contrary to what Donald Trump wants them to do, they'll just be fired. And then they're out of a job and they're completely irrelevant. There are so many Republicans over the last 10 years who talk back to Trump, and now they're excommunicado with the GOP base. They're gone. They're irrelevant. Nikki Haley, whoever, The Republican Party is a cult.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop that right there. This guy is losing his marbles. So you want me to believe you could just clock into work and just start undermining your boss and even talking back to him, and you're not expecting to get fired? What, did that work at McDonald's or something when you didn't want to flip the burgers or fries? Like, what are you talking about? And what, there's so many people that this has happened to that, oh man, that one person, and yeah, you know who, like, what? Dude, you can't even name 2 people. And then beyond all this, you're going to say that the Republican Party is a cult? Do you want to provide me with evidence for why you believe that? Like, I could say the Democratic Party is a large money laundering operation, but don't you guys want me to prove why?
We know what everyone is thinking, and Elon Musk knows what everyone's thinking. Elon Musk is currently carrying around one of his children on his head when he goes to public places because he's concerned about being assassinated. He is using one of his own children as a meat shield. This has been revealed in private texts. I forget which conservative blogger he got pregnant. He's on like child 16 now, but in the text he revealed, Elon Musk thinks he's going to be assassinated for what he's currently trying to do to America.
Now, I'm not too sure why Elon Musk is bringing his kid everywhere, but even if what Jake Broe is saying is true, do you really blame Elon Musk? We just saw an ex-president and now the sitting president almost get assassinated on live television, and you don't think someone would go as far as to try to target Elon Musk next now that President Trump has won that election? Come on. Now, do I believe he should be using his son as a meat shield? No. But if he fears for his life that much, don't you think having a kid around you may dissuade someone from trying to take a shot at you?
I don't support this. I'm not going to advocate this. I'm going to advocate, once again, that people use the proper systems, keep applying pressure to Republican members of Congress. Maybe we have to wait until 2026. But Donald Trump and Elon Musk have to go. They are the greatest threat to American democracy in our 250-year history. Next question is from Donald. Hi, Jake. I am from New Zealand and don't understand U.S. politics. What's the difference between a democracy and a dictatorship if Donald Trump can rule like a dictator and seemingly get away with it? Surely there's a way the U.S. democratic system can restrain him. If so, why isn't it happening?
Now, before he answers this question, I'd just like to provide you guys with the actual definition of what a dictator is, since everyone just likes throwing this word around. A dictator is a ruler with total power over a country, typically one who has obtained control by force. Now, what comes to mind when I hear this is that Trump is just not a dictator, but you know who is? Someone like Kim Jong-un. Do you know in North Korea, you can't even get a haircut outside of what's allowed by the government? And if you were to commit a crime, not only will you be imprisoned or probably killed, but so will 3 generations of your family just to make sure they root out the evil. Now, beyond that, who else would I consider a dictator? Maybe someone like Joseph Stalin, who imprisoned and assassinated countless people and was even the person in control during the Armenian genocide by the Bolsheviks, which killed around 66 million people, which is around like 10 times worse than the Holocaust apparently, right? But no one cares. Now, you're not even allowed to speak badly about a government in a true dictatorship. So if you find yourself criticizing Trump and calling him a dictator just like Jake Broe was just now, just know you're not living in a dictatorship because you would be killed for uttering those words.
Trump vows to be a dictator on day one. I mean, he's just doing what he said he would do. And shockingly, 30% of the country is in favor of this, in favor of a Christian nationalist state with an autocracy, an all-powerful sovereign who governs everyone and makes all decisions. A shockingly high number of Americans are in favor of this, as long as they can get rid of immigrants and trans people and stick it to the libs.
Get into the way, liberal. There's this goddamn liberal in front of my tractor, and he refuses to move. I've told him countless times to get the F off of my property, excuse my French, but he just won't listen. I'm tired. Do I run over this liberal, or do I drive around him? What do you think? I don't know. Think about the gas prices. Yeah, but then I'd have to back up and go around. And, it all just kind of feels like a waste of time, doesn't it? I'm not going to do that. No, don't feel like it. Don't feel like I'm not going to do. No, don't feel like. No, I'm not going to do that.
Get rid of the Department of Education. Like, none of this makes sense to me because I'm an educated, normal person. So we need people to protest. We need people to engage. We need people to volunteer their time. And it is happening, guys. It is growing. We're going to hit a fever pitch this summer, and I think we're going to see some amazing stuff. So this election is coming up next week, Tuesday, April 4th. And at the moment, Elon Musk is paying $100 to anyone who will sign a petition, but really, they're giving their information to go vote in Wisconsin's state Supreme Court election.
So I had to go do some reading because I wasn't too sure about the legality of all of this, but from what I can understand, it's basically not illegal to pay someone to sign a petition, but if you were to pay them to actually register to vote or vote, then that would be the crime itself. But from what I can understand, he's only paying people to sign a petition, so it kind of falls underneath that not illegal gray zone.
So the richest man in the world is buying votes in my home state of Wisconsin, trying to influence a local election for the Wisconsin State Supreme Court. We need ordinary people to vote in these off-season elections to stop what Elon Musk and Donald Trump is doing, because if they gain control of more state governments, they can then influence or rig those state elections, which will then help them stay in power forever. We're trying to avoid this. Please activate. Please get involved.
Autobots, transform and roll out.
Next question. Why does Trump constantly talk about annexing Canada and Greenland, despite most of his supporters not even wanting that? And this was a funny interaction I had the last time I was on Piers Morgan. If you didn't see this clip, it was me and General Ben Hodges debating about Ukraine and Russia with these two right-wing podcasters. And this guy, he's going to interrupt me, but then look at his face. Watch his reaction when I mention Canada and Greenland.
We're trying to prevent Russia from getting stronger. And I don't care about what Russia thinks or feels. Russia is not a great power. Russia has an economy the same size roughly as Spain. Do you think Spain is a great power that the United States should respect?
Exactly, dude. Listen.
Alright, I just had to quickly say something because going by his hypocritical logic, Canada has a GDP of around 2.1 trillion, while Greenland has a GDP of 3.2 billion. So you add them both up together and they're still around the 2 trillion mark. So the United States has a GDP of around 27 trillion. So going by his logic, are we obligated to respect Canada or Greenland since they make so much less compared to our GDP?
We are in the business of trying to be a world empire, and we're going broke. We're $36 trillion in debt because we can't afford to do it. We've blown $8 trillion in the last 20 years on foreign wars.
Why is Donald Trump talking about invading Greenland? Why is Donald Trump talking about invading Canada?
I don't agree with
that. Why is Donald Trump talking about annexing Canada?
Well, I'll tell you why Donald Trump is talking about annexing Canada or invading Greenland, because using your logic, Jake Broe, not mine, your logic that you just uttered a couple seconds ago, Donald Trump can simply not care about what Canada or Greenland thinks since they're not a great power, and they don't have a significantly high GDP compared to the United States, and that's if you combine both their nations' GDP. So are we obligated to respect them or care about what they think or feel? Just going by what you just said a couple seconds ago.
Why is he talking about ethnic cleansing in the Gaza Strip?
Conversation.
That is empire.
You lost
MAGA is the one pushing for America to be a global empire.
That's a total red herring. Total red herring. Come.
So he's saying America's going bankrupt from all these foreign wars. No more foreign wars. Thank God we elected Donald Trump, the president of peace. And I just mentioned to him, well, then why is he talking about invading Canada, Panama? Why is he talking about Greenland and controlling the Gaza Strip? And this guy, you can see, he just looks uncomfortable. As soon as I mention that, he shakes his head, he looks down, and he says, yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't support that. But he still supports Trump.
This is a grown man, by the way. So going by his logic, are you not allowed to disagree with someone and support them at the same time? Because I'd go as far as to say I support Trump, but I don't support what he's doing in the Gaza Strip. I don't support the whole annexing Canada or Greenland thing. I don't support him getting a third term if he was even able to get a third term. But am I not allowed to support him? So going by this logic, does Jake Broe support illegal immigration, high crime rates, boys and girls sports, forever wars? Because that's kind of what the Liberal Party was trying to achieve.
I don't know, guys. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I thought it'd be interesting if we took an extended look at the clip he just showed us, because I have a feeling there's something he's not really letting us in on. And of course I was right, because after he made that little point, he then resorted to name calling because he couldn't answer the question.
Last 20
then
years
why
on
is
foreign
Donald
wars.
Trump talking about invading Greenland? Why is Donald Trump talking about invading
I don't
Panama?
agree with
Why
that.
is Donald Trump talking about annexing Canada? Why is he talking about
That
ethnic
has nothing
cleansing
to
in the
do with
Gaza
this
Strip?
conversation.
That is
Okay,
empire.
see, you lost
Total red
MAGA
herring
is
is
the
the
one
one pushing for America to be a global empire.
That's a total red
herring. Total red herring.
Total red herring. And by the way, I don't support.
Go
Is the
after
guy
the
who smokes
argument.
and spends all day arguing with strippers and OnlyFans girls going to speak up? I don't know.
They
who
make
this
better
guy
arguments
is.
than you do.
General Ben Hodges,
it's not my fault
thank
that you
you
have
so
a
much
low
for your
IQ,
service to
lower
this
IQ
country.
than a stripper
You're
and an
hero.
OnlyFans
You're an
girl.
expert. These other guys, I can't take them serious.
Okay, well, I mean, listen, you just couldn't respond to my point
you need to have the right
dude.
pedigree in order to make an argument, bro.
Say that you can't take me seriously, but you just completely didn't. You had no response to the argument. Listen, the current estimate I've seen is that Russia's GDP is about $2 trillion a year. Try to keep perspective on this. That is less than a third.
Is Spain a great power that we should respect? Is Italy a great power that we should respect?
Well, aren't we all
second.
missing? Okay, let me bring the elephant in the room into the debate. Nobody's mentioning the nuclear arsenal that Russia has. That's what makes it different.
I think that's enough hypocrisy and idiocracy for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what you're thinking down in the comment section down below. And as always, don't forget to stay educated, and bye!